It's week 12 of the college football season, and the head coach's carousel has begun. Jimbo was fired at a tune of $77 million on the buyout. And then let's talk about the Heisman candidates. Let's start with Billy Napier.
He's not going anywhere, right? And I do think, I think he's a good coach, and I think he's a good recruiter, and I think he could possibly work out long term, but you got to give him time. I don't know that the fans are willing to give him time, and with a Power 5 school in the SEC, if the noise gets loud enough, the school will make a change. But I kind of like, what, Jimbo got fired today.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And Texas A&M's got a lot of money. They're going to pay him $77 million to go away.
Is that 100% of that $77 million?
Yeah. They owe him 19.2 up front and then 7.1 every year through 2031.
What a retirement package that was.
I'm telling you, man. Like the best job in the world is, legit the best job in the world is a fired college football coach.
Yeah.
But they gave him plenty of time. I mean, I'm not acting like they didn't give him plenty of time. They gave him 5 years, and it was basically the same crap every year. So they gave him more than enough time. But with Napier, I don't know. I just think what I'm tired of is year in and year out, I haven't seen an elite defense. We haven't had an elite defense since Muschamp left. Or got fired. In really 2012.
Yeah, their defense can't hold water now.
It's horrible.
They need a lot of help on defense.
And it cost us it really cost us a shot at the national championship in 2020. I think we had the talent on offense to do it. The defense just was terrible. 2021 and last year, you can say whatever you want, but the defense just continues to be terrible. And we're on our third DC in 3 years. And at some point, you got to start seeing some progress. If I was able to sit here and say I've seen progress, I'd be like, okay, well, there's light at the end of the tunnel. You're just not seeing any progress.
Yeah, because they got Missouri, then Florida State to close the season out. So that could be brutal.
Yeah. And I think the offense can hang for a little while, as we saw against LSU. They can hang around for a little while, but eventually, you need the defense to help you out.
Yes.
Against really good offensive teams. So,
and the defense can't get off the field, they're going to be that much wore out.
Yeah, they had a couple guys from the recruiting class flip over the weekend, so that probably didn't help things. So they're trying to hang on to this recruiting class that they got. It's still top 5. And they need to. If this recruiting class falls apart, then you might as well go ahead and let Napier go now.
Yeah. Because I was looking at his background. I wasn't that familiar with it. And, he looked like he had some lightning in the bottle with the Cajuns before he went to the SEC. So he looked like he had the pedigree to him.
Yeah.
Something's not clicking. The defense definitely is not.
Well, here's the thing. So in college football now, there's 2 ways you can do things. You can either go to the transfer portal like some teams have and flip your roster really quick, or you can rely on recruiting, which Napier has gone to the portal for a few guys, and those guys are, for the most part, impact guys on the team. You got Ricky Pearsall, the wide receiver, one of the running backs, Montreal Johnson. Last year we had an All-American offensive guard who transferred from Louisiana. So he's really good at evaluating talent, but he's made his bed, and he made his decision last year that he's going to build the team through high school recruiting and not the transfer portal, which I do think is the best way to go long term.
Yeah.
It's just, again, it's whether or not they're going to give him time. Now, he's got a good coaching tenure. He won
won 2 championships, 4 division titles, I believe.
I think he had 4 division titles, 2 championships. I think one of them was a shared championship. I'm not really sure how that worked. I think it was the 2020 season.
COVID year, I believe.
Yeah.
That sound right?
Yeah. But the year he left, they won a championship, and the only game they lost that year was to Texas, I believe. Which obviously they had no shot in that game. And he worked for Saban. He was on Saban's staff in 2011, and then Saban specifically sent him with Jim McElwain to Colorado State for a year or two. And then he came back to Saban's staff in 14 and 15, 16, 17. I think he was there 4 more years, something like that. Or no, 17 he was at Arizona State as the OC. But before that, he was the OC at Clemson. So, I mean, the guy has been, it's not like he doesn't have a ton of experience. He doesn't have a ton of head coaching experience. Plenty of experience as a coach. So there's really no excuse for some of the things that we're seeing. But defensively, I don't know, man.
They got to get a handle on it.
Fix it. Yeah, I don't know how you fix it.
Because right now they look like the USC of the SEC, and the SEC has defenses.
Yeah, you're not going to win many games. I mean, we've seen it with LSU, right?
Exactly. They can score, but they can't hold.
All right, their defense is terrible, just like ours. And who they play? They played Alabama. All Alabama had to do was get a couple stops because their offense is good enough to hang with anybody, but Alabama pretty much shut them down for the most part. Who else did they lose to? Oh, FSU. First game of the season. So, and they lost to someone else too, didn't they? They got 3 losses, I think.
Yeah. You are correct.
Well, like you said, at some point in this league, you have to be able to play defense. This isn't like the Big 12 or
Ole Miss, 55-49.
Yeah, another team that doesn't play defense, but they were able to. It's basically the last one to have the ball pretty much in that game.
Yep. Predictable.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I still personally think he's possibly the right guy. I don't know that one for sure one way or the other, but I think you got to let it play out. At this point, if you start cycling through coaches every 2 years, then you're never gonna make progress.
Yeah, if he closes the season 5-7 and no bowl game, do you think he's gone?
No, I think he's still there next year. I think a lot of things are going to happen in the off season.
They better come out on fire first game.
Yeah, I do think he's going to hire a true offensive coordinator. From everything that I've been seeing, that is definitely a for sure thing. And then I think he's going to probably purge some of the roster. He's got to get rid of some guys just to make room for the recruiting class.
Right.
So some guys need to graduate, move on, that sort of thing.
Touch on Tennessee for a moment. The miserable showing against Missouri, 36-7, does not look good for them moving up to Knoxville this week with the Bulldogs coming to town. And I was looking at this and I was thinking, how many times or have they ever lost back-to-back to ranked teams? And I surprised myself. I thought I was onto a neat fact, but it's definitely not one because they have multiple seasons in the last decade lost back-to-back to top 25 teams, and they're about to do it again. The Bulldogs are going to take them to the woodshed because they put a handling on Ole Miss this weekend at 52-17. Set them on the plane back to Mississippi.
Yeah. It's really surprising. Georgia fans were really worried about this game. Not this one, but the Ole Miss game.
I was wondering about the secondary getting it in, and I think to your point about 3 shows ago, you mentioned where's the other 5-star recruits at? And some of them came into the game this week, not just as subs. They had to start, and they started lighting it up.
Yeah, that's the that's the product of recruiting at a high level. You have guys like that. You just plug and play, the next man up. You can have that mentality. lot of Georgia fans were worried about this game. I never thought that it was in doubt. I never thought it'd be close. And I don't think this week's game is going to be close either. The spread's at 10.5. You probably won't make much, but I would bet my mortgage on that. I'd be willing to bet Georgia probably wins this game by 30.
Easily, especially after Tennessee's showing against Mizzou.
Yeah.
That was a bad showing on their part.
Yeah, I don't think Joe Milton's a good quarterback. I think Carson Beck is kind of hitting his stride. I mean, I saw a stat that said Ole Miss, I think it was Ole Miss, didn't even come close. They didn't even touch him.
No.
The entire game.
No, he slid and got his jersey dirty.
Yeah, I saw that play. But other than that, there was no pressure, no sacks,
he never got
hurries.
no knocks, nothing.
That's insane. Even as good as that line is, eventually you get
someone's got to get through. Yeah. But like you said, Ole Miss is kind of defense optional. I don't get it.
Yeah, I couldn't name I follow this stuff pretty closely. I couldn't tell you a star or standout player on that defense.
There's plenty of chatter in the news about Michigan, Jim Harbaugh being suspended for 3 games. It looked like the judge didn't issue a stay as of this recording, so we may not see him through the rest of the regular season here. But they still handled Penn State 24-15. I didn't think that was unexpected. It seemed like they were kind of not firing as they normally should. I figured they'd probably have put at least 35 points up, but still, it's a win. I still think they beat Ohio State. I still think they're the best team in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I agree. This past week was Michigan's first real test against anybody all season. And they pulled out the victory. I didn't watch the game. I didn't think they would lose going into it. And I don't think Jim Harbaugh being there really matters all that much. If anything, it gives the team more motivation to win. Because he doesn't, he has an input on the offense, but he doesn't call plays. It's not like he's calling defense or offense. So does the head coach being there matter? Yes. But in this case, I think they'll be okay. And when it's all said and done, I don't think the whole discipline thing's over. I think that was just a knee-jerk thing to appease the other schools.
Yeah, that was the league, Big Ten, making a move against their own rules, supposedly. I'm not versed in all the rules in detail, but, a lot of people are saying that they're wrong. It's a process, and they didn't follow the process. So we'll see how that shakes out. The other notable that I caught the shot in the podcast and did not take the pick, Oklahoma State Cowboys almost got shut out to 5-5 UCF.
Yeah,
45-3. They're good for one every year. I don't know what happened. I did not catch this game, unfortunately, but it was UCF put a stomping on them.
I saw the score early. They were this game was never in doubt.
They were up 3 scores early.
Yeah, UCF's good for 1. So last week, Miami kind of took FSU deep into the fourth quarter until their quarterback got hurt. They got Louisville this week, but Louisville had one game where they didn't show up, and that's the loss on their record. It'd be interesting to see if Miami can somehow stick with them, and maybe pull the upset. Not that that's what I want to see, but it'd be interesting.
I'm telling you, James Madison's rolling this year. I don't know about the quality of the teams they're playing, but they're getting the job done.
Yeah. I think they're in the Sun Belt. For a team that's only in year 1 or year 2 of moving up divisions, I think it's impressive. And then you got the battle of the Carolinas, North Carolina and Clemson.
What do you think about that?
I think Clemson has a good enough team to win this game.
You think it's
pretty
a
much
flip?
Pick 'em. Yeah. North Carolina's been playing some weird football.
Didn't their starting quarterback get knocked out a couple of weeks ago? So they're running their secondary, number 2 and number 3 guy.
I'm not sure. If we use my transitive property of college football, Oregon State should put up a good fight against Washington.
Yep.
Seeing how they beat Utah.
I don't think they can outscore them. That's what happened here.
I don't think so either, but you never know. And this would be a game that Texas would lose. Texas at Iowa State.
Oh, it's one of those, kind of like Central Florida.
Yeah, kind of like the Central Florida game. This is one of those games they would just lose. Arizona, Utah, that should be a good game, I think.
Yeah, I'm curious about that one. I think that's going to be a flip. Arizona at home, they only giving them 1. Over-under is 44.5 currently.
Yeah.
Like I said before, Arizona was a dark horse. This might be the next one they pick up. But they are 5-2 league play. Have to think about it.
I'm really not sure how Tennessee is still ranked as high as they are. I think they should be lower.
They probably won't be that high after this weekend.
They'll be 7-4 with 3 really bad losses.
Yes, to all ranked teams. Let me go on a gripe here for a moment.
Yeah, sure. I got a gripe for you too when you finish.
So the Heisman chatter that started. Ohio State, of course. Marvin Harris Jr. Now, I'm not knocking Marvin Harris Jr. as much as I'm knocking Ohio State University. In the politics of the media, because he is not the Heisman candidate we think he is. He's a great player. He's putting up numbers, but when you almost take double the snaps and receptions being thrown to compared to the tight end, you get 59 receptions for 1,063 yards, and the next closest guy in receptions is your tight end at 34 and 500 yards. You're the only one getting thrown to. I'm sorry. In case in point, Washington Huskies has two 1,000-yard receivers. Not one, two. And their third, fourth, and fifth guys is the next two are wide receiver, fifth guy's the tight end, the check down guy. And they got some nice number of receptions. Yardage is kind of expected for the offensive scheme. You don't see that with Ohio State. They're throwing the ball to Marvin Harrison, or they're not throwing the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, they're literally, in comparison, 260 to 205 on receptions, 2,900 to 3,800 yards for Washington.
Yeah, I don't think
1,400 yards rushing versus 1,259. Very comparable. I don't. I mean, Ohio State. I mean, their only thing you hang your hat on is Penn State, which is a good team. But you gonna call Heisman and I'm number 1 in the country with that schedule?
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Well, I think the problem with the Heisman Trophy is it's gotten away from like what it, I guess, was intended. Because it's supposed to be about the most outstanding player in the country, not the best player on the best team or the best player on one of the best teams. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best player on that team.
Yes.
I'll give you that.
Agreed. He is standout, the number 1 player on that team, but he is, I would not compare him. He would not compare, in my book, to Penix Jr. in the show he's putting on up there. I mean, that looks like the greatest show on turf, but outdoors.
Right.
I mean, if you changed a few schemes to that program, I mean, it looks just like St. Louis Rams almost.
Yeah. And two, like, you could look at, I think Jaden Daniels maybe he's
in the
according to
conversation.
Yeah, according to USA Today, he's plus 700. Marvin Harrison's plus 500. Penix is 275. And right now, leading the Heisman odds is Bo Nix, which is absolutely
That makes no sense.
crazy to me. I mean, he's having a spectacular season. Don't get me wrong, but I think he is one of the best players in the country. He elevates the guys around him. Not saying Washington has bad players or anything. I think they do a pretty good job. But if I had to say right now, like, it'd be between Penix and probably Daniels at LSU. I think Daniels is good for a couple wins this season for LSU. And I don't think Beck is that far off either if we're just talking quarterbacks. I just have a hard time with Beck because he's surrounded by immense talent.
Yeah. I don't think Beck's, I mean, he might have crept into the conversation, but
Well, he's plus 3,000 right now. He's just sitting at number 5 according to USA Today in the odds.
I mean, Daniels looks good on paper, but he's taken 20 sacks too, so it's a question mark. 4 interceptions.
Yeah, his offensive line is not that good.
Yeah, because they've lost.
Florida was able to get to him.
Yeah, just 3 ranked teams. It's probably due to sacks, pressure, and
yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like, the trophy, in my mind, was never meant for the best player on the best team.
Okay, so here's the LSU receiving number. So they talk about Marvin Harrison here. Neighbors for LSU's got 72 receptions for almost 1,300 yards, and they do have another 1,000-yard guy. He's 918 yards, 51 receptions. So
Brian Thomas.
Yeah, they're just dribbling the ball. They just can't keep pressure off of them, and they can't. Defense optional, like we said a little while ago.
Yeah, like I said, if you had someone else starting for LSU right now, say the backup Gus Nussmeier, if he was starting, I don't think they're 7-3 right now.
Yes,
they're probably closer to
5-5.
Nothing against that kid. He just doesn't bring the same.
Shazam.
Yeah, he doesn't. He doesn't make the same plays.
You got to have that Shazam.
Yeah, there's an it factor for sure.
Yeah, you got that right. So what's your beef?
Mississippi State fired Zach Arnett 10 games into his first year as a head coach.
What's their current record? I have not followed Mississippi State.
I think they're like 2-8.
2-8.
They're not good. But my problem with that is why did you hire the guy in the first place? He was a holder. So Mike Leach had his thing. He passed away last year. Arnett was on staff. So instead of doing what you really wanted to do and going out and finding a coach to hire, you decided to hire this guy, knowing from the jump you were never going to retain him very long. I think that's just dirty. I know that it's a business and all that, but it's really dirty. Like, if you're going to hire the guy, then give him a legit shot. They never gave him a legit shot. You don't fire a guy 10 games into his first season.
You give him typically 2 years.
At least 2 years. Or a year, in some case, a year and a half. It just depends on how bad it is.
You think this is just a setup to bring Jimbo over?
No, Jimbo's going to ride off into the sunset with his $7 million a year for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people out there, you never know with this stuff. A lot of people out there already today are saying that the first call they need to make is Dan Mullen.
Well, he can't even coach for a year, right? He's got a 1-year clause
He's got a 1-year show cause that everybody forgets about. And it doesn't mean he can't coach. It just means that I think the commissioner would have to sign off on it. I think. Don't quote me on that, but I just think that was a really dirty move. Lane Kiffin's not like leaving Ole Miss to go to the rival. That's not happening. I think there are some good up and coming G5 coaches, but The SEC is just a different animal, and the SEC West is even more so a different animal. It's just in Mississippi State, you got to kind of have, like, what are your expectations? I think like the real expectations at a school need to be very clear, because like Mississippi State's not winning championships. Sorry, it's just not happening.
No time soon.
No time soon. I mean, you may luck into one. I can't remember the last time they were in the SEC championship. I want to say maybe in the 90s.
I can't either. And with the league expanding next year.
Yeah. And you're bringing in Texas and Oklahoma. So that slim shot you had gets even slimmer. Yeah. Again, I think that was a dirty move. Don't like it. Now, maybe there's some stuff going on behind the scenes that I don't know about, but on the surface, it just looks
It's like
good.
a shank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jimbo's out. I've been hearing rumblings that Sam Pittman's out. I don't know if that's official. Brian Kelly won't last long at LSU.
That's the rate they're going.
At least in the SEC, I think most, other than the ones that have already been let go, Shane Beamer, possibly Sam Pittman. I don't see anything official about him being fired. So
Wow, they're 2-5. South Carolina. It's not good. How long has he been in South Carolina? Is this his second year?
I think this is year 3.
Ooh.
3 or 4. Yeah, 3, because Muschamp got fired the COVID year.
Okay.
But again, you look at a team like South Carolina, and they're looking at it through the wrong lens. They're looking at it through the Spurrier lens. And even Spurrier, it's
Had bad
funny.
years, yeah.
I think he's the winningest coach at 2 different schools. And he had, outside of 3 years, when he had Jadeveon Clowney and some guys on offense, they were pretty mediocre. 7-6, 8-4 most of the time. And he's a good head football coach, but you're taking a guy who is a really good head football coach. You put him in a less than ideal situation at a school that has no real expectations. And now you're judging everybody else based on those 3 years in a 11-year tenure. Doesn't make sense.
True that.
And you can make the same argument really about a lot of schools. Florida. And let's be honest. Outside of the 90s and the Meyer years.
Got Meyer, Spurrier. There's a lot of winning in championships.
Yeah. That's what you're basing your expectations on. I think it's unrealistic. Do I expect to win championships? Yeah, I do. Do I think Florida can do it? Yeah, I do, because I've seen it done.
Thank you for joining us today. If you'd like to reach us, you can find us on X, formerly known as Twitter, or email us at primecohesion@gmail.com. And thank you for stopping by and